Yeah, so that's the second line. The third line, the gateway of the fortunate ones desiring liberation. Yeah, what is that referring to? We have one principle left. We did two.
Sorry?
We have three principal aspects of the path, right? So two we already discussed. So one? Emptiness, yeah, the correct view. So the gateway of the fortunate ones desiring liberation. Yeah, so if you want to achieve liberation or Buddhahood, you need emptiness. Yeah, you need the realization of emptiness. Without that understanding of this lack of concreteness, yeah, afflictions will still arise. Anger, attachment, jealousy, pride, all those afflictions, they grow on this kind of concept of concreteness. Yeah, if it's a person out there we get angry at, we see the person is very concrete bad. Yeah, or a person we attach to as very concrete good, or object we attach to we see as very concrete good, and object we have aversion towards too, we see as very concrete bad, So that's those two extremes. Yeah, so that's all based on this concrete idea of a self, or phenomena, or a self of the person. Yeah. So if you want to become a Buddha or you want to achieve Nirvana, yeah, for both of those cases you need to eliminate the cause of suffering, right? Isn't it? So you have to eliminate ignorance. Yeah, so for eliminate ignorance you need this kind of the gateway of the fortunate ones. So it's like if you go to liberation, like a plane or a bird has two wings, right? One for flying to Khas, to Nirvana you need renunciation on one side and emptiness on the other. Yeah, if you fly to Buddhahood, you need Bodhichitta on one side and realization of emptiness on the other. Yeah, so always, whatever you like to accomplish, you need this understanding of emptiness. Yeah. This I shall try to explain as much as I can. Yeah? So, Lama Tsongkhapa being an incredible scholar, but always taking a humble aspect, as we see, especially in this tradition, that many people, many lamas who are highly realized, even His Holiness Dalai Lama always shows a very ordinary aspect, yeah, or humble aspect. Yeah, I don't know anything, and it's very inspiring. So Lama Tsongkhapa does the same thing. Yeah. Is that a bit clear? The first verse, as an introduction. Then
in the second line, why the path praised by all the holy victors and their children. Their children praising the teachings of the Buddhas is okay.
Mm-hmm.
But why the Buddhas saying that, okay, they themselves are praising
this path, yeah, because the Buddhas, they know if you follow this path, you can achieve Buddhahood, right? Mm-hmm. And then you not only have ultimate peace and happiness for yourself, but also you can work for the benefit of all sentient beings without exception. So that's why it's the entry.
Praised by all the holy victors and their children.
Yeah. Yeah. So all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they praise this mind of Bodhicitta. Yeah, and all the Buddhas, also Shantideva's Bodhisattva Charavatara also says that all the Buddhas have examined what's most beneficial for all beings, that Bodhicitta is the most supreme.
Okay.
Yeah. Bodhicitta is being praised, no? Yeah.
I didn't get that. Why does line 3, because the path has 3 principles.
Yeah.
So this path that is praised, why does it imply Bodhicitta here?
Because the first line is renunciation, right? The second line, Bodhicitta. The third line, emptiness, or the correct view. Yeah? So the path praised, the path here is referring to Bodhicitta. Yeah? And why is it praised by the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas? Because they know if you, based on Bodhicitta, you can become a Buddha. If you achieve Buddhahood, you have ultimate happiness for self and others.
Mother of
Buddhahood. Yeah. Yeah, it's like in the Madhyamika Avatara, for example, Dharmakirti, many scholars of Nalanda, right, when they start a text, they have a praise to a particular Buddha or whatsoever, to Buddha or the qualities of a Buddha, or, that happens. So then, Chandakirti, very interesting, he praises compassion in the beginnings of the text. Yeah, he doesn't praise a particular person or individual, no, he praises compassion. As compassion being the root of every goodness, So then Chandakirti, very, very nice way of logic, he said, all the arhats, all those who are liberated, have achieved nirvana, they arose from the Buddha. Because through the Buddha's teachings, they become an Arhat, right? So when Buddha was teaching in Rajgir, for example, then a lot of individuals, they achieve nirvana at the same spot by hearing the teaching of the Buddha. Yeah? So that's why Chandrakirti says all the Arhats arise from the Buddha, or from the Buddhist teaching. Yeah? The Buddha arises from the Bodhisattvas. Yeah? So the Buddhas come only about by first being a Bodhisattva, right? If you become a Buddha, first be a Bodhisattva, and then become a Buddha. Yeah? So then Chandrakirti says all the Buddhas arose from Bodhisattvas. Yeah? And all Bodhisattvas arose from Bodhicitta. Yeah. And not only Bodhicitta, but also the view of emptiness. Right? So Bodhicitta arose from compassion. Yeah? If you don't have a wish for others to be free of suffering, you will never become a Buddha. So that's why he praises compassion in that way. And another aspect is, if you study a little bit more advanced, in order to realize emptiness from different kind of angles, with a very vast way of logic, that is also moved by compassion. So that's why that's also Chandrakirti says, bodhicitta as well as the realizing emptiness in a very vast way with multitudes of logic, also that comes by the power of compassion. Is that clear? Then? Yeah. So then, so that's the first verse, the promise to compose. Then the second verse, to listen. That's for us, listeners, or people who study. So in order to get realizations, first you have to gather information, right? It is with every education. If you want to get a degree, if you want to understand a particular subject, you first have to learn. You have to study, you have to receive instruction, or attend a lecture, or teaching, or both, So that's why first we have to have this listening. Then on top of this listening, we have to analyze. As I said before in the beginning, whatever I say, don't accept. Straight away analyze, if it's true or not. And then only you get the meaning of it, and then you see what can be of benefit for yourself or not. So that's the first step. First get information, then analyze. Then after analyzing, you come to a conclusion, right? For example, anger is you analyze what is anger. Is anger good, or should I develop more anger, or should I cut it down? So you analyze, what does anger do to me? What does it do others? Is benefit or is harm? You check, It's like in a business deal, you do the same thing. What are the pros and cons, right? So with anger, do the same thing. Okay, you see, anger is very destructive, and I lose my peace of mind, and I harm others, and so you see the faults of anger, right? Then on the opposite, you see the benefits of patience. The mind becomes more calm and can make the right decisions at the right time. So then you exchange those two. So that's how we analyze. That's how we contemplate. So first we have to have information, then we contemplate, and then we meditate. So with anger, you analyze the faults of anger. You've analyzed the qualities of patience, and you come to the conclusion. You think, no, anger doesn't really bring any benefit, and patience is so much better quality of mind to be developed. And then you concentrate on that conclusion. That makes an impact on the mind, right? The more we habituate to positive states of mind, the more happiness will be gained. And it will take time. Like I said, maybe not in this life, a complete elimination of anger. But to a certain extent you can. I have one of my friends in the Netherlands, we started at the same time, Buddhism, 1993. And he has family life, and he has to go to the office every day. And even in Holland you have a lot of traffic jams. It's not only Delhi. So they have those, they have 4 lanes there, 4 lanes there. So when they go in the morning into the city, in Rotterdam, Amsterdam, they open a few of those lanes. There's like 6 lanes going in and 2 out, and then in the evening they switch it over, and then there's like 6 lanes out and 2 in, just to try to prevent traffic jam, but still there's traffic jams, So then he used to sit in the traffic jam for 40 minutes every morning, 40 minutes every evening. And it's a waste of time, as you know. It's very irritating sometimes if you're in the traffic jam and you try to follow the rules, and there's just another guy or lady just in front of you, and block again. So he used to get so angry, And in Holland, like he have AC in Holland, and it's cold, the windows are closed, and the heating is on. So he used to shout at the people in front of him, But the people don't hear him. He wished to harm, but he cannot harm them. He only harms himself, right? So he used to shout behind the steering wheel and be very unhappy, and then coming back in the office or come back home, and the mind is disturbed, and there was no benefit at all, because the traffic jam, the amount of time spent was exactly the same, you know. And the person didn't get harmed because he didn't hear anything when he was shouting, you know. So then he, after some time, he you know, tried to practice patience, and not after a few months, but after a few years, he said, now I'm at peace. When I'm in traffic jam, okay. You know, it's like, you cannot do anything in the situation, so why get upset, you know? So, and then there's more peace. The situation is exactly the same, but you can choose how to deal with it, you know? So that's our own mental attitude. If we, you know, how we accept a particular problem in life and how we deal with it. That's our own hands, right? So this is possible, you know, even if you're very uptight, after some time you can change. Yeah? So that's possible by first listening, because without information, meditation doesn't make sense, right? If you just go out and live up in the mountains or sit under a tree and you don't know what to do, then it's a waste of time, right? So we have to first gather the knowledge, then analyze, and then focus on that conclusion. Yeah. So that's why first we have to listen. Yeah, that's why those who are attached to the pleasures of cyclic existence or samsara, yeah, who strive to make freedom of an endowment meaningful, and entrust themselves to the path pleasing the victorious ones, you fortunate ones, listen with a calm mind, or listen carefully. Yeah, listen carefully, you can say. Yeah. So here, yeah, if you listen to a discourse or you study, yeah, if the mind is sleepy or the mind is distracted, they don't absorb. Yeah, so that's why you need to put some effort. Yeah, so that's, traditionally speaking, they have the upside container. You know, if you just mind is distracted all the time, you don't hear what's been said, or you asleep doing your teaching, you don't know what's happening, right? So there's an upside container. You know, or if you pay attention to a certain extent, but still there's some distraction. It's like a hole in the vessel. You know, you pour in the water, but it doesn't stay. You know. Yeah. So this happens to us very often. We go to a lecture or whatsoever, and then we're back home and forgot everything. So that's why it's important to pay attention, you know, make notes, and then to make sure the information is retained. You know. There's another one is just come with a wrong motivation. Oh, I know everything already. What's this person to tell me? You know, that's like a dirty container. You know. So we have to be free of those thoughts. Yeah, if you want to get something out of, and same for if you read a book or whatsoever. You know, if you pay concentration, attention, you absorb much better. Yeah. Yeah, so that's how to listen. Yeah, and then it also talks of freedoms and endowments. Yeah, so we as human beings, we're very fortunate, you know, to have found this opportunity. We have human intelligence. Yeah, we have interests in these kind of aspects of life. Most people, they don't. You know, they just keep going what they're doing all the time, and if they're happy or not, they don't really realize sometimes. So, and that way we're very fortunate to have interest in these kind of matters of life. Yeah. So that's how we should listen, or how we should study. Yeah, the text. Then Lama Tsongkhapa very skillfully, if we engage in something, from now on, the three principal aspects. Yeah, he will give you for every aspect 3 important things. Yeah, why do I have to do this, or the purpose or the need for generation of a particular mind. That's first. Yeah. Then the second one is how do I generate this mind? Yeah. And the third one is then see if you developed this mind correctly according to what's been instructed. You know? So that's something that's very important in life. You know, it's like, why do I have to do this? You know, to get some benefit out of something, you have to analyze. You know, why do we have to study this, or why I have to think in this way? Yeah? So that's why. And then next one is how, right? How do I do it? And the last one is make it check. You have to check if you did it correctly, if you didn't got diverted in another direction. Yeah. So every of those 3 principal aspects always talks about those points, and those points we can apply in every subject of the Lamrim. Yeah, the stage of path to enlightenment. Yeah. For example, presume rebirth. Yeah, or Guru devotion we just talked about. Why do I have to meditate on this? This reason. How do I do it? Like this. Then how do you see you have created the right kind of understanding? Then you have to check. You know? Yeah, so death and impermanence, same thing. You know, that you have to analyze, why do I have to meditate on this? You know, and how do I do it, and how do I know I did it correctly? Yeah. So that's I think very important. Yeah. So then, the purpose of generating renunciation. Why do I have to meditate on renunciation? Yeah. So then it says, without complete intention, definitely to be free from cycling. Yeah. There is no way to pacify attachment, seeking the pleasure effects of the ocean of cycling. Also by craving for cyclic existence, yeah, embodied beings are continuously bound, therefore, at the very beginning, seek renunciation. So first we have to understand suffering. Yeah, as I said before, the Buddha so skillfully, the first noble truth is, you should know suffering, right? So without knowing suffering, or without knowing a problem, you will never look for means to solve it. Yeah, so that's why we have to analyze suffering. Yeah. Then on top of that, you have to know, okay, if there's a method out, I generate interest in that method. If not, then I waste my time. Yeah, so that's very important we go to those different types of suffering in the next verse. So then, how do I generate renunciation? Yeah, so I know I want to have more happiness, so I have to understand suffering. So let me see how I generate this. Yeah? So freedom and endowments are difficult to find, and life has no time to spare. Yeah. So we human beings, we're very fortunate to have, what I just talked about, human intelligence. We can analyze, and especially in India, we have the freedom of whatever faith or religion we like to follow, we like to study. That's not everywhere in the world the case. Yeah? So in that way, we're very fortunate. And on top of that, we also have time. Yeah, though it's not much time, but we have time, to come here after office hours and spend some time discussing these things. So that's also very fortunate. Most people, they go from the office and back home, switch on the TV and order some delivery and then eat and then look at the TV and get even more tired and then fall asleep, and that's the day, right? So most people, the day is like that. Wake up in the morning, check your email during breakfast or watch the news quickly and quickly have some bites up in the car, in traffic, to the office or whatever, work, whatsoever. You do your job, you come back home, tired, have a dinner from the TV or internet, whatsoever, fall asleep, and that's it. So in that way, we're very fortunate to have some space in the day to think about these essential things, because there's more in life than just the distraction. It doesn't bring the real happiness. Yeah. So in that point of view, we have a kind of freedom and endowments to. Yeah, there's a classification of traditional of 18 freedoms and endowments. If you really like to study them, you can do that later on. Yeah. And so we're very fortunate as human being to have this opportunity. Yeah. Difficult to find. Yeah. So. It's very difficult. If you just take the number of the 70 billion people in this world, or how many in Delhi?
22 billion.
22 million. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
25.
Huh?
25 years.
25 years. So it's not a big number, compared to the millions in Delhi. So then you can see that even from the point of view of number, it's very rare to find people interested in these kind of matters. Very rare. Yeah, so among is every religion same thing, If it's Christianity, Hinduism, the Islam, or whatsoever, there's huge numbers. Then people who are really serious with their faith, and really get the benefits of the faith is very, very, very few, Same in Europe with Christianity. Before we had churches, people go to church, but they don't know what Christianity is all about, So Buddhist, same thing. Some people, they go to temple, offer some, incense. That's it, but they don't really understand Buddhism. So there's no benefit, So that's why we have to educate, we have to learn, understand the religion, and then there's benefit, whatever religion you have connection with, yeah. So that among all the people who say they're spiritual, or it's popular these days, especially in the West, I'm a Buddhist, that is quite popular, but people don't have a clue what Buddhism is all about, So among all those people in the whole world, to find people who say they religious is very, very few. Among those people who say religious or spiritual whatsoever, who are really serious, even so few. It's only a very, very few. So in that way, we're very, very fortunate, and it's very difficult to find in the sense from the point of view of number. There's so very few people, and then you can also explain from the point of view of the cause. You have to create the right cause for this to come about. Yeah, so that's. In the Buddhist scriptures, to be a human being and have this kind of freedom to think and have a connection with these texts is extremely rare. from the point of view of time when the Buddhas are not present and the Buddhas teach the Dharma or not. That's a very, very rare, very extremely rare opportunity. Yeah, and life has no time to spare. So to have this opportunity is very rare. And then also, time is running out in the sense that the time we're born, we know we're gonna die, right? Yeah. So everybody has to die, and that's a given. Yeah. There's not even one person gets exempted from dying. Yeah. So as soon as you are born, you know you're gonna die. Yeah. And when the time of death comes, is uncertain. Yeah, some people die in the womb, some people die at birth, some children die before their parents. There's no certainty. It can happen anytime. Yeah, so that's that impermanence is a very, very important meditation. Yeah, and then also with that impermanence, you also have to know, why do I meditate in that impermanence? How do I do it? And how do I see I've meditated correctly? And so why do I meditate in impermanence? Because one day we'll meet that reality. If we don't prepare, then it comes as a shock. So it's not to make us depressed or down. That's not why we meditate on that impermanence. It's just to learn reality, to understand, accept reality. Yeah? I always bring up the story of my mother, who doesn't consider herself as a Buddhist, but her son is walking around with a shaved head and robes, and he is a student of the Dalai Lama. And so my mother starts reading. Why? So people in Holland are very open-minded. So my mother reading, has a little altar, and she was reading these kind of things, and thinking about it. And then my father passed away very quick, in a few months' time, cancer. And then my mother and father were so close, very good relationship. And then my father, all the way in a few months, then most of my family members, uncles and aunts, said, "Oh, my mother, she goes in depression for months for sure," But it didn't happen. My mother, of course, was sadness, but she understood the situation because she thought about that in impermanence before. It's very interesting. So then there's benefit. If you meditate that in impermanence and you get depressed, then there's no point, right? That's not the meaning to meditate that in impermanence. The meaning is to understand reality. Yeah, in this context, to see we have this incredible potential, being human, having this kind of rare opportunity, meeting this kind of teaching, thinking about the meaning of life, and how do I become a happy human being, and can I help others to achieve the same, those kind of things. It's very, very precious, and that time is running out, because we don't know when we die, and it can happen every moment, So yeah, there's a saying here: one leg on the grave and one on the banana peel. It's like you never know when it's gonna happen. Yeah. So that's why it says, and life has no time to spare. Yeah, by gaining from reality with this, attraction to the appearance of this life is reversed. So that means, if you know this life is coming to an end, and you meditate on that in impermanence quite often, then your interest in the short-sighted kind of goals in life disappears. So another interesting example, the benefits of thinking about death and impermanence, people who have a near-death experience, people you heard, everybody knows near-death experience, and the ear, if people who have an accident or a cardiac arrest, it happens, there are cases that people leave the body, right? Yeah, and they come back again, the near-death experience, very interesting case.
Out of body. Yeah,
out of the body experience, yeah. So, what happens with those people who had this kind of more than 96%, I think, more than 96% of the people transformed their life in a positive way after the experience. It's very interesting. They become spiritual, they become more compassionate, more loving kindness to others, by the power of understanding death and impermanence. Very interesting, Yeah, so, and then the little short-sighted goals in life, like material stuff, they don't have interest anymore, So that's, if you really understand that this life is not going to last forever, and there's more lifetimes to come, then the interest for this life, the short-sighted things, they don't pay that much attention anymore, So that's true for people with near-death experience. That's also true for people who think about death and impermanence all the time. They see the real need, the real essence of our human existence. Very interesting. Yeah. So then it says attraction to appearance of this life is reversed. Meaning people, they lose the interest of these very short-sighted goals in this life. They're more spiritual, think about long-term plans. Yeah. So do we all believe in reincarnation? Who doesn't? Allez. Yeah, no problem. And everybody believes in reincarnation? So why? Why is reincarnation the case? The same thing again, no? Reincarnation exists or doesn't exist, right?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. So we have to analyze if it exists or not and why. So then you analyze what are the reasons for it to exist, what are the reasons for it not to exist. And then you see which reasons are more valid. Yeah? So some people, they cannot even analyze this. It's also possible. It's also very rare to have a mind that can think about these things. I have a friend in the Netherlands. We came from the same school, same college, and he, a very intelligent person. We used to spend a lot of times hitchhiking. In those times, hitchhiking in Europe was not that dangerous as it is at the moment, but in those times we used to hitchhike every summer to a different kind of country in Europe. So we were very close friends, and then I met him later. I was married, had children, and we met him again, and he told me, he said, wow, I said, you can think about past and future lifetimes. I can just, whatever I try, I just can't think about it. So interesting, a very honest answer, because some people say, future lifetimes, do they exist? No. You ask them why, they say, I don't know. That's also not the same thing if you've been asked and you say, past and future lifetimes exist, and next question is, and you say, why? And you say, I don't know. That's not really the real answer, right? So you have to analyze. Yeah. So in the Buddhist scriptures, we talk about in continuity of consciousness. Yeah? Consciousness, mind, yeah, can only produce by mind itself. Yeah? Matter, like form, can never produce consciousness. The consciousness depends on the brain, but brain and consciousness are not the same. Yeah? In Buddhist philosophy, and even certain neuroscientists, they come now to the conclusion. Yeah, that's to the materialistic view of the brain is there's nothing else. Yeah, but there's also neuroscientists who now start to analyze the concept of consciousness. Though it's very difficult to analyze because it's not matter. So we cannot send people to an MRI scan and say, oh, this is consciousness. We can only see the relationship, the correlation between consciousness and brain activity. Yeah, so that's still a very new field to be examined. Yeah, but from the point of view of Buddhist logic, it says consciousness can only be produced by consciousness itself. Every moment is a preceding moment. So when you wake up, the consciousness never stops. You go to sleep. Our sense consciousness, they stop. Yeah, eye consciousness, ear consciousness, but mental consciousness is still active. Yeah, we still have dreams, etc., feeling. Yeah, so consciousness can never be stopped. Then consciousness can only be produced by a previous moment of consciousness. Yeah, so seeing that stream of consciousness. Basically, we cannot find a beginning, it started here, because this point, A, yeah, that needs a cause to come about. Yeah? So then we can only produce a previous moment of that. Yeah? So then, okay, that point B, where is the previous moment of A, is that in the beginning, but also B has to be created. Yeah? Because consciousness is impermanent, is a law of cause and effect. Yeah? So every moment of consciousness needs a preceding moment of consciousness to come about. So in that way we basically prove that also at the time of death, at the time of birth, yeah, conception, before birth actually, a few months before birth, of course. Then there's a conception, yeah, in the womb of the mother. So at that time also consciousness comes, according to Buddhist scripture, because otherwise there's no substantial cause for consciousness. So that's one aspect, and another aspect you can, examine people who remember previous lifetimes, yeah, out of the power of realizations, or children remembering previous lifetimes. Very interesting research, like Professor Stevenson, for example, University of Virginia. Very interesting cases. And he says, I did this research. He did 40 years, 2,000 cases of children remembering previous lifetime, and on top of that also birthmarks of the cause of death of the previous personality, as he calls it. Very interesting, very interesting research actually, and even habituations. What we just talked about, habituations, building up habituations, changing their mind. So that's true for positive as well as negative, So this case in Burma, there was one child was born, and he actually was killed by one of the soldiers in that area. Yeah? But the people in that area had a very good relationship with the army. So he was born and was shot in the head by accident. It was an accident. So then, little child born had a birthmark. Yeah, this is not just a story, right? This scientific evidence, right? So he had this birthmark, and then on top of that, he remembered so many things from his previous village, the names of the people, the area. As a little child, I never been to that place. Very interesting. Again, on top of that, also, he used to throw stones at the soldiers when he was very small, without being told. And everybody had a good relationship. So there's maybe the aversion or the anger towards that soldier would shoot him. And then, on top of that, talk about habituation to a particular person, he met the wife, the partner, the wife, of his previous personality. And they married again, though she was already like a little bit older than he was, Very interesting. So you see, in that way, habituation carries on. Anyway, if you're interested, then there's a lot of things to be read about. So that's incarnation. So if incarnation is the case in that way, if you analyze well, then, of course, then future lifetimes are more important than this one. Yeah, because this one only lasts for, maximum 100 years, right? Or 80, whatever is lifespan. Yeah. So then thinking about future lives becomes more of interest or more benefit. Long-term goals, also for a businessman, is of more, value than just short-term planning, right? Yeah. So that's why also in the spiritual part we also plan for the future. Yeah. Yeah. So then, maybe we continue then tomorrow. Yeah. It's 8 already. Huh?
Questions maybe?
Huh?
Some questions?
Yeah. I was just asking maybe if there's any questions. Yeah. So also here, any questions? Yeah.
Venerable, can you slightly more give details when you're saying that the consciousness has no beginning and no end? So there is only the continuum.
Yeah.
So I find it a bit difficult to really conceptualize no beginning.
Yeah, it's not easy. Yeah. Because everything we see, but same with matter, to a certain extent, the stream of matter, everything, this planet, the Big Bang, we can say, it started with the Big Bang, but what caused the Big Bang, right? So there's always, if it's matter or consciousness, you need a kind of substantial stream of that particular kind of substance, right? So in that way also, matter of course transforms, different metals transform, but there's always a substantial stream of particular matter, right? Yeah. If it's even on the level of subatomic particles, right? There's the interrelation, but there's still a continuity of causes and conditions. Yeah. So in that context, if you just look at the day, the day itself, our consciousness from the morning until now, there's just a continuity of all kind of thoughts. And if you just analyze one day, and you go back from this thought, you go back to the previous thought, you go back to the previous moment, then actually you start to get a little bit of feeling of that continuity, right? And that continuity also doesn't stop when we sleep, because there's still feeling, there's still mental consciousness, there's still sometimes a dream, yeah? So that continuity of consciousness over a few days and nights, there's no break. There's no kind of, it stops here and then starts again. It's not like that. It's just one continuity. So if you go then to the time of birth, or even before birth, the conception, when the ovum and sperm meet, when the egg is fertilized, at that time, then you can think, okay, there's matter which forms the body, right? But if we accept consciousness to be separate from the brain, though there's independence, of course, interdependence between brain and consciousness, but if it's a separate stream, where does that consciousness come from? Yeah, if you say it comes from the father and mother, then there's many cases of sometimes born twins. Yeah, one egg twins being born physically, they're exactly the same, but mentally it can be totally different. Yeah, so then you can have a lot of questions in that regard. Yeah. So then if you think that consciousness cannot, and every moment of an individual stream of consciousness has to have a perceived moment, and that perceived moment has to have a previous moments, then in that way we can always find the previous cause for moment A, for moment B, C, and it goes on and on and on and on, infinite. So actually we cannot find a starting point, okay, this stream of consciousness started here. That's not possible, because that moment also has a previous moment. You see? So in that way, for us, same as the endless, this universe, same thing. There's no wall around the Milky Way or wall around beyond that. There's no end, right? Same concept. No, it's very difficult for us to think, to actually conceptualize. There's infinite space, right? There's no end to the space in the universe. So there's a similar kind of aspect, I think. Yeah, it's just for us ordinary beings, a bit difficult to relate to.
No, because even the expression also.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the books writing that we can't really identify that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
That gives a kind of impression that it is there, but our mind can't really identify. So there's a kind of subtle subtlety in that expression. So
it's true, and also our mind is like so habituated to only this life, right? With a beginning and an end. Yeah. So because of the habituation, we also never thought beyond that. So that's that's also lacking, that knowledge. If you remember previous lifetimes, even for children, we remember previous lifetimes. When they get 5 or 6, they also start to forget and carry on with life, and that's it. They don't remember anymore after that, unless a high realized being who remembers previous lives. But other things. There's many cases of interesting cases is to see if there's consciousness depending on brain, and to which extent it depends on brain. Is there levels of consciousness which needs less dependence? And are there also consciousnesses which don't need any dependence on brain? That's also a question. So Stevenson, in his research, he says, I didn't do this 40-year research with 2,000 cases. You cannot just wipe it off the table. Some of the cases are very, very strong. If you use statistics for it to think it's random, then you cannot say it's random, because certain things you cannot just. It's evidence, right? So then, he says, I don't prove reincarnation, but there must be something that carries the information from a previous personality to the present. So that's what we Buddhists we call the stream of consciousness.
What's the purpose of forgetting in our life?
That's just. It's not that forgetting is totally the information is totally
gone. It's a phenomenon,
It's just not knowing, right? It's an ignorance. Because that can still be known. For example, there was...
No, but you choose to forget things in life.
That happens by the power of, losing that capacity of the mind to remember, right? The remembrance degenerates. But it's not lost, because if you get realizations like calm abiding, you remember everything. Previous lifetimes, like the Buddha, you remember all his previous lifetimes, for example. So there was a case in Tibet of one meditator who was like a shepherd, very simple person, and he received instructions from this Lama in eastern Tibet. It was during the Chinese occupation. Then he went up into the mountains and he meditated for not very long, because of his imprints of previous lifetime probably. And then he got this kind of calm abiding, right? Concentration. And then he started to be clairvoyant and knew exactly what's happening, every house in the area. And he could read people's mind, and then he started remembering all his previous lifetimes. And not all of them, but like a few. It's very interesting. So the information is not lost. But we just forget by... The children, they forget because they get distracted with things in this life, and then, the information of previous lifetime doesn't make much meaning to them anymore. So they forget. That's just a degeneration of remembrance, right? The mental factor remembrance.
It appears to me that adopting a certain view is necessary to access reality then. Would that be correct? We as organisms have to have a view to access any kind of reality. Isn't having a view an obscuration of sorts?
If it's a correct view, it's not obscuration. If it's an incorrect view, then it is. For example, permanence, We look in the mirror and we think my face is the same as yesterday. And tomorrow will be the same, right? Sometimes the first sight on the mirror is like that. And then the cosmetic industry, they play with that kind of wrong concept, and they give you this cream and give you this shampoo, and if you use this, then you stop decay. Or these pills, you pop a few pills and you stop decay. They promise. But this is wrong view, right? But we believe it to a certain extent. Same with the train example. Until we start analyzing. And then analyzing that, okay, if I look at a picture when I was 16 and look in the mirror, it's different, it's there.
So an analysis is not a view?
An analysis comes to a view. A view is kind of a conclusion, right? So you analyze, okay, the cosmetic industry tells me I'm permanent, but am I permanent or not? Then you analyze, then you look at a photo when you were 16, oh, there's a change. That change didn't happen overnight, no, luckily. If you wake up one morning and all of a sudden you're 40 years older, then it's pretty much of a shock, right? So luckily that happens over moment by moment, yeah? So then you analyze, okay, if the change happens from 60 to now, there must be a momentary changing, process, because it cannot happen overnight, right? So then you see, okay, there's a momentary process from there. So from now until I'm 10 years older, also there must be a momentary changing process, right? So then you analyze actually that moment by moment you're changing. You're not permanent. And by this analysis you come to a conclusion. I'm momentary changing. Yeah? And that's a view. That's a correct view. Right? That helps you. Because that's in accordance with reality. If you grasp to this permanence, it's an incorrect view. Yeah? So then one day you will see some gray hair coming or some wrinkles coming, and then you're shocked, oh, what happened? I thought I was permanent. So that's because you don't realize reality, or you lose a family member or a friend or whatsoever, because you never thought about impermanence and death. Then you meet reality, because one day you're going to meet it anyway, and then it's a shock, Yeah.
So you meet reality through your senses, and a view or a conclusion or a construct is contingent upon your senses.
Not senses, basically we use mental consciousness. Yeah, we have eye consciousness, ear consciousness, yeah, the nose, the taste, the tactile consciousness. There's 5 sense consciousness, right? We don't use that for analyzing things. That's just, we realize things. We cannot, that's not a conceptual consciousness. Conceptual consciousness is mental. Yeah, so with our mental consciousness we analyze, reasoning. And then with these kind of things, oh, I'm impermanent because I'm momentarily changing. So that's an analytical approach, you come to a conclusion, and that's a view. Yeah. So if the analytical approach is correct, the view will also be correct, according to reality. Yeah. If your analytical research is not valid, then the view is incorrect. Like the cosmetic industry says, oh, you use this cream or this shampoo, and you won't get gray hair, or you won't get any wrinkles, or you pop a few pills and you stop decay. It's not possible, but they make you to believe. Yeah. So that kind of analysis is not in accordance with reality. So that's why we have to use our own human intelligence. Yeah. Yeah, makes a bit sense. Yeah. Yeah.
You talked about causes and conditions.
Yeah.
So I was wondering how the causes, conditions, correlations. How do you even distinguish between a cause and a correlation?
A cause and
a correlation.
Correlation. So correlation can be cause and effect relation, yeah, but doesn't pervade. Yeah. For example, brain and consciousness, there's a correlation between the two. But the question is that first consciousness and then brain activity, or the way around? Or maybe both things are possible. Yeah, so correlation doesn't always pervade that one is the cause, A is the cause of B, or B is the cause of A. Yeah, it can be both sides. Yeah? Correlation is just a relation between two particular phenomena that interact with each other. So in that way, everything around us is in correlation. Yeah? Everything is interdependent nature, right? Everything is interdependent. Yeah? We come to that later when we talk about the correct view, then that interrelation or interdependence becomes very, very important. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So we all if we all become Buddha.
Yeah.
So how do you think the world would look like?
Quite nice, I think.
Very peaceful.
Yeah. No war, no suffering.
I mean, the aim of the Buddhism wouldn't be there then.
Then the Buddha's job is done. It's like everybody is Buddha. So that's it.
So was there any case previous lifetimes that
No.
such a thing had happened?
Unfortunately not,
So
because we're still stuck.
Community,
Otherwise we wouldn't be here.
community of Buddhas.
Yeah, we were just blissing out in one of the Buddha realms. So that's not the case. Yeah. So there's a question was asked to the Buddha: is there a time, that all sentient beings become a Buddha? It was asked the Buddha the question. The Buddha didn't answer. Yeah, very difficult. Yeah, because there's infinite sentient beings, right? Beyond number. The stream of consciousness, so it is very difficult.
Is this only about to live peacefully that these preachings are done, or is there really? I mean, all of us will become Buddha.
I mean, that's a very good one. On the individual sentient beings, they can become Buddha, right? Because we all have Buddha potential, right? We all have a potential to become a Buddha. Even the smallest insect, like a mosquito, has that potential. So as a human being, we have a little bit more advantage of thinking about these things, So that's very precious, yeah. So that's in Shantideva. It says when Shantideva, showed the aspect of getting a bit disappointed, to become a Buddha, but then he thinks, oh, a mosquito even has Buddha potential, So then, for me, it's even more possible to become a Buddha, yeah.
Can you also obtain Buddhahood or Nirvana if you are immersed in daily life with serious brain? You have to work, or you have to
live in a cave.
Live in class and become I don't know, like a monk or something, be outside of something.
Yeah. You can achieve enlightenment as a layperson. Yeah, possible. Mapalo Tower, for example, one of the Tibetan lamas who went to India to study. Milarepa, also a layperson. Yeah. And even in family life, it's possible. Yeah, it's possible. But the conditions, for an initial, that's for people who trained already over a few lifetimes, right? So, yeah, it's possible. I mean, the main thing is mental training, right? If you're a monk or a nun and you live up high in the mountains in a retreat, cave or hut or whatsoever, but your mind is down in the business street or in the shopping mall somewhere in Delhi, then there's no progress, right? And on the opposite, if you're a person, you stand in the midst of your life, you practice patience with those people difficult to deal with, you practice love and kindness to other people, then also there you can practice, no? It's a mental attitude, mental development, no? It's not a physical thing to stay up in the mountains or whatsoever, But of course, sometimes, if you take some time off to contemplate, those kind of things, then it's easier to deal or to progress, if you cut off certain kind of distractions, So then some people, I have a lot of my friends in the Netherlands, for example, they have families, they're Buddhists, they try to put things into practice in that way. Sometimes take some time off and contemplate a few days or whatsoever particular subject, and then they move forward. No, it's possible. Yeah? Anything else? No? Then we stop, yeah? So then try to dedicate, yeah? So first we generate correct motivation, then we talk and discuss things, and then we try to dedicate making... because we did something very good today, actually. If you think about it, there's not many people in this world who have the opportunity to think about these things. So it's very precious, So also try to think that good things we thought about and contemplated and discussed, try to dedicate that also for all sentient beings, that all sentient beings might generate good qualities of mind, love and kindness, compassion, patience, etc. And in particular, all sentient beings, including oneself, may generate this kind of three principal aspect of a path of renunciation and bodhichitta, and a correct view of reality, to go from happiness to happiness and eliminate all suffering. So try to dedicate it for yourself. Nejun samba rinpoche magye pana yegu chi yeba nyamba meba yang gone gonde bewa jo janjo senjo rinpoche magye pana yegu chi yeba nyamba meba yang gone gonde bewa jo doni tawa rin magye pana yegu chi yeba nyamba meba yang gone gonde bewa